What up? Brad here. So there's a phenomenon I've noticed with guys that I meet, no matter how successful they are, and I don't care if they've been with hundreds of women, made millions of dollars, there's just this glass ceiling where I can tell within 5 minutes if this guy was cool or not growing up. And that shouldn't matter at all. I don't care shit about his high school years or anything like that, but for some reason, internally it does matter. And it's basically this glass ceiling where it doesn't matter how many books you've read, how many countries you've been to, either you were cool growing up or you weren't, and you can tell right away. And so there's all sorts of insecurities, inner game issues, all these things that you need to deal with. But I've noticed that there's one specific thing, an outer game technique that's super simple that anyone can apply to basically shatter through that glass ceiling and get you to hanging with the cool kids, be part of the crowd right away. And so the answer to all your problems is stop qualifying yourself. So qualification, what is it? It's when you don't feel that you have enough value, so you have to say some shit to convey value, to impress someone. And this comes first from the old pickup dating advice, female psychology days. And guys very quickly realize that, oh shit, I've been doing this for years, I need to cut it. And an example would be, let's say you're talking to some girl, she's talking about Africa, and you're like, oh, I have this amazing trip that I did to Africa and all this cool shit. And you're trying to convey value on the level of the words instead of actions, and actions speak louder than words. This is what your mom told you. And it would be things like alpha body language, being centered and dealing with the craziness of what happens in the interaction and being able to do that without freaking out. Even good eye contact, good tonality, those things convey way more value than the words that you say. But for some reason, then when you talk to dudes, guys forget about this and everything changes. And again, you meet some guy who's more successful than you, and you think, oh, how am I gonna impress him, or how am I gonna show that I'm like one of the cool kids? Let me just lean on that one pillar of success that I have, my business, and I'll tell him how much revenue my company makes and that I have all these employees and stuff like that, instead of just letting the vibe. What that does, it just totally kills the vibe, because it's obvious that you're seeking a reaction, you're seeking validation, you're seeking that positive feedback, or you're just trying to force commonalities in the same way you would with a girl. You're doing the same thing here with dudes. For example, back when I used to teach the dating boot camps, all the time guys would just come up to me and they'd start saying, oh man, I went out last night and I met this girl and this crazy shit happened. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just like trying to chill out, dude. Like, let's just have a normal conversation. And what you're doing there, again, realize you're forcing commonalities the same way a girl is talking about how she likes makeup and you're like, I like makeup too. Like, you're doing the same shit here, just more subtly with dudes. You're doing the same sort of shit. And so I think what we got to get into is a definition of what cool is. And basically all it comes down to is like offering value, but not offering value by giving advice, not offering value by helping people out, but by adding to the vibe, by just keeping it cool, keeping it fun. And that doesn't happen on the level of the words about your cool stories, or even worse, telling jokes. A lot of times when you tell a joke, it needs a reaction. And more often than not, I'll just like, people say I have this like derisive laugh or some shit. And it's just because there's such an awkward tension there, I just have to be like, like, because it's so awkward, because it's forcing a certain reaction. So don't rely on a reaction, don't need a reaction. You add vibe on a more subtle level with those actions and the behaviors. And so if you look at the transition from, let's say, climbing the social totem pole, we all start off at the introverted, more you're not asserting your personality, you're not asserting your opinion or your values. And you're kind of the wallflower, and you just kind of stand in the background. And then you learn that, let's say with success with women, having those high status behaviors that makes you more attractive, as well as just with high successful anyone, having that strong frame of reality, being comfortable in your own skin, all these things are great. But then you kind of have to swing the pendulum. The only way you get comfortable with it is taking things too far. And so you see guys out and they're like overly physical, they have like extreme breaking for rapport, all this sort of crazy shit. And you see it and you almost cringe, but hey, it's better than being the wallflower. But there's another level. And a concept I used to teach, it's the alpha wolf versus the silverback gorilla. And so the alpha wolf is that swinging the pendulum so far, you're like, look at my alpha eye contact. Look at my alpha body language here. Wham! The next level is the silverback gorilla, where that stuff is assumed. He doesn't need to convey shit. He's just like, I am the shit. And I actually have a really kick-ass video here of the true silverback gorilla with his harem of ladies and this little alpha gorilla coming in trying to dance and be a hot shit, and all he does is stare him down and show him what's up.
At more than 300 pounds, this silverback rules a harem of unrelated females and family members. This morning, a young, solitary male is also on the scene. He swaggers in, perhaps for a drink and a bite to eat. But to him, the Bai is also an attractive singles bar, a place where he can eye the market of potential mates. This one tries to ignore the intruder in their midst, but how long can he hold out? With a rush of confidence, the single male dances across the Bai, creating a spectacle. The silverback has seen enough. They silently but aggressively face off. Far outmatched, the young male turns tail and runs. Calm restored, the Bai returns to its more peaceful state.
And so it comes down to that difference between assuming value versus conveying it. And if you look in that video of the gorillas, the silverback with the harem, he's just like, what, bitch? Just eating some grass, doesn't need to do shit, compared to all the little guy who's trying to be all alpha, and he's like running around doing the drig across the pond and everything like that, and then he just runs off into the wilderness. You need to get to that point where you assume it. And one of my favorite sort of other kind of juxtapositions of two guys that are kind of similar here would be the new rich versus the old rich mentality. And a guy that, let's say he just came into money, his business makes a lot of success. What does he do? He goes off and he buys the Lamborghini, he tries to look all cool in his car and stuff like that, and buys the big house and throws it up on social media saying, look at me. And I remember for myself when I really started to become financially successful, I kind of did the same shit on Facebook where I'm like, I'm in first class now, look at me with the champagne, or now I'm in Dubai, or now I'm in all these crazy places and stuff like that, like bottle service, wow. It was like, think about what that actually does. It's showing that you're seeking a reaction. Why the fuck do you really want to put that shit on social media? You're trying to get people to go like, wow, I wish you had your life or some shit like that, compared to the old money, which is just assuming it, where it's like a fish in water, to where wealth is just a part of their life for forever. And yeah, they probably have some nice things, but in no way, and if anything, they probably want to hide the fact that they have the wealth because people are going to take advantage of it. So again, it comes back to assuming it and the vibe that comes out of it, the confidence that that old money person has, the confidence that that dude has been successful with women, or that guy that just, the badge of the entrepreneur, as I like to call it. You just have this vibe, you can just tell this dude has been through some shit, he's centered, and that conveys so much more than your story about you going to Ibiza and dancing with all these girls and the bottle service and all this sort of shit. Completely unnecessary. And so before finishing up, I want to make a distinction between being humble and unpretentiousness. So humble, I think, is bad. That's going back to the social totem pole. You're basically the passive, self-deprecating, you have a low sense of self-worth, all that sort of stuff. I hate self-deprecating humor, saying like, oh, I got the dad bod. All that shit, all it does is reinforcing yourself that you have low self-esteem and a low sense of self-worth. Unpretentious, on the other hand, is just not being pretentious. And pretension, what that is all about, is conveying all that new rich shit, showing you need the bedazzles, all that sort of stuff is totally unnecessary. Remember, social value, it comes from the vibe. And it's the things that we all know what to do. A great book would be Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you haven't read it, go read it. It's very matter-of-fact shit that no one does. And it's all about maintaining the vibe. It's not about seeking that reaction or needing that validation or having that guy like, what are you trying to accomplish? You don't want him thinking, damn, that guy is really cool. He's got a lot of cool shit in his life. No, you want him thinking, that guy's a lot of fun to hang out with because he adds to the vibe, right? And of course, there's all sorts of inner game issues of how to dive into those insecurities, how to increase your self-worth, deal with things like self-acceptance and self-esteem. And we don't have time for that for this video. But like I said, start with just cutting out the qualification, stop forcing commonalities, and start having some fun, adding to the vibe, and really shatter that glass ceiling, and you're gonna be much better off. Your relationships are gonna be much better. As always, enjoy.
Good job, man.
I had it.
Nice,
I had it.
man.